Michael's going to do the first session till about 11:30ish or so, and then I'm going to do a little bit of training with you guys at 11:30. Then we have Army National. Oh, it's right on the screen. You don't need me to say it. All right, I'm going to let Kylie take it over. So go ahead.
Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Michael. It is nice to see you in person and virtually meet you, not just over messaging. Super excited to have you here. I'll do a quick little intro and then we'll get to talking. So up next, your guys' first speaker of today. His name is Michael Grohman. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Big Country Vets, based out of Texas. Michael is a proven leader with deep expertise in organizational strategy, leadership development, and operational planning. He's dedicated his career to helping veterans not just transition, but truly thrive after our service. He also teaches at the Texas Christian University and the University of Charleston, shaping the generation of leaders through education and mentorship. Super happy to have you here today, Michael. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation and reaching out, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can we start by kind of telling me what made you go into this career of serving veterans and what's the story behind you wanting to help us out more after your service?
Yeah, so my story I think started like everybody's when you transition from service to the private sector, regardless of what that looks like. Really trying to find identity. So
Mm.
when I retired, I actually went into healthcare initially. I did that for a few years as an executive, and then during that time frame, I completed a PhD, and I actually moved from healthcare into energy, which
Oh,
was
wow.
kind of a leap. But the organization was looking for compliance, and coming out of healthcare, obviously with compliance. So as I moved into that organization, I'm just going to be fully transparent, probably say some stuff that might not be popular, but I didn't involve myself with any veterans organizations. I didn't find a lot of them actually service the veteran. I thought that they really serviced themselves through the process of marketing the veterans. So I spent almost 6 or 7 years really not dealing with any of these organizations. I had a really good taste in my mouth. So a friend of mine reached out to me and mentioned this particular group, Big Country Veterans, that they were doing an event out in West Texas and that I should attend. And begrudgingly, I went to the event, and I realized quickly that the organization itself didn't have an agenda. It was a family that owns a lot of land in West Texas, and they just wanted to give back. And they had kind of adopted the event from another organization that had been running it, and then 30 days before the event, called the ranch and said, "Yeah, we're not going to do it this year, but if you want to keep going, go ahead." So that was kind of the birth of Big Country Veterans, and they decided just to take it on. So I attended it the second year that they ran it, and it was just a great event. It was the camaraderie, the community, the networking, the ability to just kind of have those conversations with no hidden agenda was refreshing. So I went back and volunteered the next year. The following year after that, I was asked to join the board. I was a board member for them for several years. As we steered the company, grew the company, we added different value chains and lines of service for our veteran community. And then last year, we made a decision that we wanted to grow the structure, grow the organization, start branching out nationally. And I was asked by the board to step down off the board and assume the role as the COO. So I've done that, and now my main focus is partnering with organizations that kind of fill the gaps, the stuff that we don't provide, but organizations that kind of meet our kind of what we think our culture is and our focus on the needs of the veteran.
Yeah, absolutely. Stepping back just a little bit before we get more into Big Country Vets, tell us about your service. What branch were you in? How many years? What was maybe a big struggle when you got out? That doesn't sound like you had that community that you really wanted. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was in the Navy. I did 27 years, retired as a Master Chief. I was a Special Operations Independent Duty Corpsman, so I spent 90% of my time with the Marine Corps, and then at the end of my career, I moved over into JSOC and spent my last 10 years at JSOC. I retired as the command senior enlisted for Naval Special Warfare Development Group. And, as I transitioned out, I think you missed that community, regardless of where you're at, whether it's in the workplace or in your social life, having those folks that have that shared experience and understanding. So walking into Cancer Treatment Centers of America was my first job out of the military, and I was the director of intellectual property and innovation. So we managed all the intellectual property and proprietary information for Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And it was just, it didn't seem like there was any community within the organization. You showed up to work, you did your job, and then you kind of left. So always looking for that close-knit connection. So I actually wound up leaving that after about a year. They were starting to restructure. I got a little kind of tingly spidey sensation that maybe things weren't going to be going so great here over the next year. And I actually jumped back into Department of State thinking that, maybe I'll go back to doing what I used to do, and that would make me happy and fulfilled. And it was just back overseas again, spending a lot of time in Mogadishu, a lot of time in Northern Africa. And I just realized that wasn't my life anymore. So and I think that's to me where when I talk to folks about transition, I think you have to accept the fact that you're no longer in the service. I see a lot of people and have a lot of friends that they hold on to that. It continues to define them 10, 15 years after service. And we gave that up, right? Like I'm not a Master Chief anymore. I don't put it on my signature line. In fact, I don't think I've said Master Chief in a couple of years. And it's just one of those things that I've embraced where I'm going with looking forward, not looking back on what I've done. I had the great privilege to serve this country in a really cool way, but focusing forward is where I wanted to go. So I left Department of State pretty quick and went to work for Sutter Health in Northern California, again, managing innovation for fifth largest healthcare system in the United States. Did that for a couple of years. And then, like I said, I moved into energy as an executive where I worked there for about 5 years. And then we took the company through private public offering and then took it private again, took it through a merger and acquisition. And I decided at the time to cash out and moved into working for BCV kind of full time. And then I also teach at Texas Christian University at the Neely School of Business. So that's kind of my career path and where I'm at. So I'll be happy to go deeper on any of those topics or subjects or areas, but that's kind of, I guess, an overview.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We talk about a lot how a lot of us are struggling with, because I'm transitioning as well. We're struggling with the fact that we're not in the military anymore. We're about to not be in the military anymore. So we need to find that new identity. We actually have a whole week where before we even start these sessions, where we figure that out. We figured out what our new identity is and kind of run for it. So I love that you mentioned that. Looks like we have a couple questions, so we'll get to those now. Hey, Chris.
Hey, how you doing? I just had a quick question. You said he's Master Chief, and he sounds like he had a pretty distinguished career. My oldest daughter's in the Navy. She's on the Carl Vinson aircraft carrier. I just didn't know if you'd ever been on that aircraft carrier or not.
I've been on the Carl Vinson several times. We, while never stationed on a ship, they were our operating platforms. So we would fly on, jump on, boat on, whatever, however we could get on the ship. And usually they would take us to some cool exotic destination and drop us off so we could go to work. So I've been on the Carl Vinson a lot. Actually, my very good friend of mine was the command master chief of the Carl Vinson for about 4 years. Man, a long time ago now. So he's probably retired. But yeah, great ship. Great ship.
Yeah, we love that. I feel it's so crazy how small the community is. Like it's giant, but I feel like at least once a call, we find somebody who either knows the other person, they have something in common with them, they've passed them in some way. So it always blows my mind whenever that happens. Robert.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you for coming and speaking with us.
Morning.
What kind of partnerships or engagements have you guys used that you felt have been the most kind of effective for extending big country veterans?
Man, hey, Robert, thank you for asking that question. So we're a little bit unique. We're not, in a way this kind of sounds bad, but we've created an environment where we have a selection process every year. We have what we call kind of our inaugural event each year. It's all focused around a helicopter hunting event out in West Texas, but we use that as kind of a gateway into the DCV family. So alumni make recommendations for the next year's group coming in. In fact, we're going through the 75 submissions as we speak with alumni to select the folks that will come next year. And then once they're kind of in the family as an organization, we decided that we were going to focus on a couple of key areas to really help build community and foster kind of, life after service. So we offer a service dog program. We offer what we call a rally point, which is run by one of our veterans. And that's just getting the folks together throughout the year, at least once a quarter, just bringing everybody back together wherever we're at. And we surf, we hunt, we fish, we go off-road driving in Colorado, just whatever it is to get a group of folks back together. And then we have partnered with a few organizations for our optimal performance program. So coming out of special operations, I believe in mind and body. So we've partnered with Parker University over in Northern Dallas. We use their Invicta project. We're currently in a conversation with another veteran nonprofit. I won't mention their name today because we're still working it out. And I don't want them to think that I've already made the assumption that the deal's done. But we're going to offer peptides to our folks as well. And this is an organization that they've been offering peptides and hormonal therapy for about the last 5 years for vets. So we're going to partner with them. And then what we realize, and I think as all of you know, it's not just you that serves, your family serves as well. Having a kid in high school, while I served at JSOC, I missed probably 95% of his high school career. So we realized that we need to include the families. So we also do couples retreats. We do at least one a quarter. And again, we do those all over the United States as we realize, people have different interests. And so those are kind of our core programs. So what we realize is people come to us for other needs. And sometimes that's PTSD or they're struggling with substance abuse. And we've decided that as an organization, we're not going to tackle that, not for the fact that we don't think it's important, but for the fact that there's so many great organizations already doing excellent work in those areas. So what we've done is we've gone and seek to those people out. So we've partnered with Mesa Springs Behavioral Hospital here in Dallas, which is actually the CEO is a former Marine, and he is absolutely dedicated to making sure that the folks that go there get the best possible care that they can for substance abuse. We've partnered with Red River Behavioral Health Organization up in Wichita Falls. They focus primarily on PTSD type stuff. And both of these organizations have inpatient, outpatient. It's either covered by TRICARE or the VA. So that way, when someone calls us and we don't have the answer, we directly partner with them. I just made some connections with home healthcare, something that we don't really think about. I'm not that old yet, but body's starting to break down, and we partnered with an organization called Overture, and all they do is home healthcare services, and they actually have a VA certified nurse can write those scripts and requirements for a veteran, so that veteran doesn't have to go through any of the kind of the crap at the VA to get their in-home healthcare. So we target organizations that don't provide a service or provide a service that we don't provide. And we collaborate with them, and we'll donate to those services. We'll raise funds for those services. And at the end of the day, all we ask is, if it's one of our veterans, that we get priority or we get a certain number of those slots as kind of a partnership.
Okay. Wow. You guys do way, way more than I was. I was looking at the page, and there's so much more to the company than that you see at the front face value. How do we'll get to you in just a second. Sorry, Josh. How would these guys get a hold of you to where if they wanted one of these services or they wanted to be a part of the Big Country Vet team, how would they go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website, bigcountryveterans.org, you can go on there. There is an info link. You can connect that. That'll come to myself and our executive staff. So it'll go to our CEO, myself. It also goes to our operations manager, our marketing director, our CFO. And I think there's another couple other people on there. And then based on what you're asking for, one of us will respond with either information or, hey, reach out to me and, let me know. We'll get a time we can talk and we'll jump on a call or jump on a Zoom, whatever it is. If you're local in the DFW area, we'll meet up for coffee, whatever that looks like. So please, leverage our webpage. I think that's the fastest way to do it. I'd be happy to share my email address as well, but I'm going to be honest with you. We're changing it right now. It's at bigcountryveterans.org. And there's been actually occasions I forget to put the S on there, and then I'll register for something, and I don't get any emails back. So we're changing it to BCVTX so that we don't have those issues anymore, because I tend to miss things. So the website's the best way.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, BCTV is way easier than all of that. Josh, how's it going?
Hey, good morning, Michael. Hey, as a Marine, we have a special love for corpsmen out there.
Same.
So my question is I'm trying to prepare and transition. I really want to get into the recruiting, talent acquisition, but continue to help kind of serve and help those veterans with purpose and opportunity. From your experience, what's the most impactful way to bridge those two goals of building that career while still giving back to the veteran community?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, Josh. And I will tell you that every organization that I've dealt with in the private sector, at some shape or form, they have a desire to hire veterans, right? Like we hear that all the time. I've had fortunate pleasure to work with some great chief of admin officers that have a career in human resources. And I'll tell you what, like if your goal is to, further yourself as well as assist veterans in kind of that recruitment piece, I think moving into that, I can't remember their little acronym they have, but for their skilled professional certification as a health, what is it, a human resources manager, and being able to guide your company to, have a program that you're targeting that veteran population, because sometimes they want to do it, they just don't know how to do it. So I think that marries nicely together when you actually have a veteran as part of that human resources program that can actually speak for that particular demographic.
Did he answer your question well, Josh? Do you have
Yes,
any
Michael.
thoughts? Okay, great. I wanted to ask, you help so many veterans, and I'm sure you've seen hundreds of them in their transition or after their transition. What do you think is one of the maybe biggest mistakes or biggest things that you help veterans with when they're getting out that they might be struggling with?
So and this is a personal opinion. And I think I
Yeah.
struggled with it a little as well. And I don't know what everyone's rank and time and service is, but I think there's this we have this kind of expectation that we kind of move into a similar role within an organization, and that these previous roles that we've been used to, for example, mentorship and leadership development specifically, I think we believe that there's going to be the same level of existence in the private sector. And what my experience has been, it's not the case. A lot of folks, it's about their personal achievement and what they're doing. Succession planning is a great term, but in the couple industries I've worked at, it's a military term. The CEO of my company is not looking to train his replacement because he doesn't want to lose his job. He likes the fact that he makes, $1.8 million a year for managing a company. So I think there's a little bit of a different dynamic. And I think we step into the world, one, and we're going to get full credit for everything we've done in the past. And two, that there's going to be someone there to tell us, hey, this is the next step that you need to take, or hey, this is how you need to, evolve in an organization. And I think that's where people get the most frustrated, is like, why isn't anybody, coaching me or telling me what to do? And then that kind of caveats on my next point. I also teach at University of Charleston, West Virginia. And what I really like about that university is they have contracts with the government. So a lot of the students are at the end of their career, they're transitioning out, and they're going to step into that new world. And one of the things that I realized, I think in the military, we do a great job of training people how to do something. But we don't really explain why we're doing something or how to develop the process to do something. And I see a lot of people struggle with this, where they come into the private sector and almost immediately like, well, can you give me an example? Well, no, I hired you as an expert in your field. You should be able to do something without an example. So I think we've done a kind of a detrimental to our evolution as service members by really just talking about how to do stuff versus how to develop the actual processes behind the scenes. So I challenge my graduate classes to get outside of that mindset of checklists and templates and learn how to actually develop, and you're going to be much happier in the private sector because, just as an example, when I moved into energy, I was the vice president of quality, and my first question was, do we have a quality manual? And they were like, no, we just do stuff the way we've always done stuff. And I was like, well, how do you know what good looks like? And they
Mm-hmm.
were unable to answer that. And I'm like, well, I need a checklist. Like I need a book to tell me what these guys should be doing. So we had to build it. But even our COO came in, who was prior Marine Corps officer, a great individual. We were sitting around talking one day, and he's got a degree in political science from USD, and I always give him a hard time about that. But we were talking, and he's like, Mike, you know what I need? I need to build an innovation process in the company, and I need it to be under your department. I'm like, okay. And he's like, can you go online and find me a template for an innovation lifecycle? And I started laughing. I said, Jeremy, I have a master's degree in innovation. I can build you a life cycle right now. So I think those elements, if you embrace that, you're going to be much more successful and much happier in the private sector as you transition.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What's the you said that that's how you do it, but how did you get there? Like from being at that start point, being confused and kind of lost about the process, and then being to where you are now. What's some advice that you do, some things that you personally did that got you there into that proper mindset?
Yeah, so just like I think like we're all used to, I found mentorship in each of the organizations that I joined. So at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I reported directly to the CFO, Chuck
Mhm.
Ribby. And through our first kind of couple conversations, he had no prior military experience, been in finance his whole life. And we were just kind of talking, and he handed me this just big stack of paperwork about this innovation process that they had going on and the intellectual property associated with it. And he said, by the end of the week, I need a report on all of these different points. And
Mhm.
I looked at him, I was like, well, Chuck, what does that report look like? And he goes, welcome to the private sector. Like you got to figure that out. That's your job. You are the director of this. And I'm going to come to you, and you have to have the answers. So quickly I realized like there's nowhere to just you can talk to colleagues, obviously, but there's an expectation that you function at a different level in a different environment. I think in the private sector, and I struggled with that. Like I'm like, I need something. I need an example. Is this right? Is it wrong? And then I just started realizing just do it because nobody else knows what right or wrong is. And once I figured that out, it was easy.
Okay. Okay. Great. Gary, you have a question?
Hey, Mike, this is Gary. Hey, good morning, and thank you for talking with us this morning, brother. Um, yeah, so I kind of understand a little bit about the sector. I got out, I'm going to show my age a little bit. I got out came in 1993 and got out in 1997. So I have some corporate level experience working with Caterpillar, using my VA, going to college, working for the Veterans Affairs Association at Midwestern State University, Inverted College, and then took about a 10-year break. And when I came back in 2008, I just haven't looked back. And so transitioning and getting into the civilian side of the house is kind of what I'm kind of preparing myself for. So again, because I understood what it was like sitting in an interview. I understood what it was like sitting there with my Sunday best and having some guy across from me ask me if I had a DD-214, and it did say, hey, doesn't matter what you have on there, just as long as you got a good conduct medal and honorable discharge. And so, I've kind of gone through some kind of interviews in the past, and like I said, working for Caterpillar was probably like right where the corporate level met my time. What I mean by that is it's kind of like night 2008, 422 of us lost our jobs. I took about 6 months out, and then I came back in the Army, and I have not looked back. And so, I've got a degree in leadership while I was serving at the United States Military Academy at West Point. And so for me, looking at like what I'm doing with this and how I'm going for my next role, I know you're out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I'm from Wichita Falls originally. What I'm finding coming into looking for jobs and doing this, and the reason why I'm with Seventh Eagle, and because it's an interview. It's an interview for the customer and it's an interview for the candidate. And so I'm kind of looking at this as well. And Jordy's been great with me on this, getting this ball rolling and setting this in and getting this kind of network platform, which I'm using, totally taking advice and taking it in as much as I can while I'm taking these pieces of people who are meeting, such as yourself and other people who are speaking through Seventh Eagle and kind of getting connected and using a real platform to be able to maximize our network as veterans. And, I'm very passionate, about taking care of soldiers and their families. I've done it my entire career as a senior human resources, NCOIC, all the way to the senior enlisted top level of the NCO Corps at every directorate. And so, I want to do this on the way out, getting this opportunity to do something with helping what we're doing with our services transitioning. I'm kind of doing a soft land right now. So I'm literally like 2 weeks away from, picking my DD-214 up, ago, living in a duffel bag with the wife in an Airbnb. And matter of fact, my unaccompanied baggage is arriving today. So we are in, no kidding, a flight of spotted areas of trying to just ground level transition and get a soft land. I'm currently in Colorado Springs, but we plan on moving back to Wichita Falls. That is my hometown. I was born there, raised there. I was born at Shepherd. And so, we've got family as thick as thieves all the way through West Texas to East Texas. And so, what my curiosity is as you get into, you're going through this program, you're going through the transition, you've been out a lot longer than we have. Guidance wise, I'm not there yet ready to start doing interviews. I'm not at the platform or the head timing space where I'm at, where I can start sitting down and getting into a more controlled conversation on, direction. Right now I'm still just like 2 weeks out from leaving Korea, for crying out loud. So lots of moving parts going on right now. So once I get a little bit more settled and dialed in, I'll be more focused on being able to kind of figure out the next tune of what it goes. Most people have a home next to their job or a job next to their home. That's just 85% of the population of the United States pretty much live pretty much closely where they work. So I'm trying to find stuff in Wichita for us. Veterans, it seems to be, as well as Shepherd Air Force Base, there's not a lot of opportunity for something where I have that leadership coming in. I have that experience as an HR for 20 something years. I don't have the certificates for the civilian side of the house. I just never really kind of paid attention to it. The Army doesn't require it. And I'm trying to find a footing. My go-to is college. My go-to is obviously look at working for a college, something similar that I did when I was at the academy at West Point, in a different role, maybe in admissions or working in counseling or advising and helping soldiers and veterans work their VA disabilities and use their Chapter 31, Chapter 33 of post 9/11 benefits. Pretty solid on that, but timing is everything with positions. You can be as prepared as you want to be in an interview. You can be as prepared as you want with all the social media links and everything else. But when it comes down to meeting a person and having that connection, that's really kind of what nails that seal down. In my experience, just dealing with people, working with stuff, it's really that initiative impact of, do you have something that you can provide that they like, and what you can have that opportunity, to have a relationship, and a work in a professional relationship. I haven't found anything in Wichita so far. What I've been doing some just basically scround S2 work, kind of surveying what's out there, getting on Indeed, getting on LinkedIn, obviously using this network. My question to you is, long story short, sorry. My question to you is, what opportunities are available in the area that you are working with that would be something where a fit might be, where it needs to be, where there's something that needs to be? There's a lot of veterans in Wichita Falls. Not seeing a lot of things there for anything where, unless it's a VFW or you're working at the Veterans Affairs Office or you're working at the Texas Health Department of Services and, that kind of stuff. I'm passionate about helping soldiers and their families. I understand getting out of the military before, what it's like. I'm doing this the second time around, except this time I'm retiring. And I got a little bit of better footing than I did when I got out the first time, but I am looking at wanting to do something for us and working with an organization that has got some impact for our veterans and their service members as they transfer out of the United States military, and getting them settled into a place. What advice do you have that you could offer me, and mentorship or guidance that you could give me, based off of what I just kind of gave you as a scenario? And I'm probably speaking for myself. I'm sure there's everyone else on this loop has got the same transition issues going on. What advice would you give us for looking to get empowered or get involved with something that's veteran organization friendly?
Yeah, no, so great question, Gary. And actually I went ahead and just pulled out a card. So Chuck Wright is the commissioner for the Texas Veterans Commission. So he worked for Governor Abbott, and he controls, everything that we do here in the state for veterans. And Chuck is unfortunately from the Air Force, so give him a little break there. But great, great, great individual. And I think I could maybe share this through Kylie. But if not, if you go to the Texas Veterans Commission website, and this is for any veterans, regardless if you're in Texas or not, that is a great start when you're looking for something. And we actually, to your question, Gary, a good friend of mine, and he's an Army guy. So I kind of, I've got friends in all services, even though I was in the Navy. But my Army buddy, he's a double amputee. They're moving to Texas, and his wife has been in nonprofit work forever. And through Chuck, we were able to get her connected to an organization to get her a job before they get out here. So he's going to be able to transition smoothly. And a lot of those organizations, you mentioned Indeed and some of the other websites. Those are great, but what my experience has been, most nonprofits that don't have a high operating revenue typically don't advertise on those platforms. Why? Because it costs me money to advertise. So
Right.
my advertisements on my website or through word of mouth. And I think through the Texas Veterans Commission, you could probably get some leads. And then since you are in Wichita Falls, another good friend of mine, Joaquin, he is the Fort Worth DFW representative for all veterans organizations. Just another wealth of knowledge. And they typically have, kind of insight scoop on who might be looking for something that might fit into that category of continuing to serve post-service.
Right. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much. I sent you an email. I sent you a note on LinkedIn just a second ago, so you should probably see something. Definitely want to stay in contact with this, man. We're on the fence on whether we stay here in Colorado Springs or we go back to Wichita Falls. We've got some opportunities here in Colorado. I was at 10th Group back in the day when I was a special operations recruiter, back in 2012 to 2015. And our son is working up here at the Air Force Academy as a cyber director. So we got some roots here, but but we're also, and there's a lot of opportunities here. With the TS, I can still carry on with my TSSCI. I got a clearance here. There's a plethora of jobs around this area. It's a matter of quality of life. Do I want to jump back into the rat race of being in a high-powered situation where I'm making, I'm not chasing money and I'm not chasing a title. I kind of did that during my career in the military. And I kind of realized up at the 4-star level that is like a very high demand of just working basically for the president of the United States. You're on 24 hours a day. So with that kind of expectation and operational deployments through the cavalry and the infantry and jumping through the Corps of Engineers to set up the border mission from El Paso to San Diego, I don't necessarily look at chasing title. I'm not into chasing. That's, to me personally, I've kind of got to the point where I'm mature enough to realize that with that $250,000 salary, I know I can achieve. It's a matter of, do I want to dedicate that time for that $250,000 and sacrifice my family again to do so? Sometimes a title and a salary is great to have, but I think there's also a demand with that comes with it too in the civilian world. I saw it when I was working for Caterpillar. That's a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And so they demand your time when they're paying you, a certain salary or a certain title. And I'm fine with that. I just think the quality of life is where we're kind of looking to balance. So I really appreciate talking with you today. And I really appreciate the link up with Jordy, giving us the opportunity, the time to sit down with Seventh Eagle and have you guys talk to us today. I will definitely be keeping in contact with you in the future, my friend.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you
By
so
the way,
much,
go
Gary.
Army. Go Army.
Thanks, Gary. We appreciate it. And thank you, Michael. This is really what all this is about, just having you here to kind of give these guys advice and maybe give them a route to somewhere where might get them employed. So thank you so much for willing to connect our guys. I only have one last question for you. I'd like to ask it just for anybody in this room right now who might be struggling the same place you were struggling in your transition, what's a really good piece of advice that you would give them to either get through that struggle or get to the next spot in their life?
Yeah, have that person that you're willing to talk to, that you're willing to kind of have any conversation with. That's really what helped me get through it. And, as you were asking that question, I kind of went back to, within my first month at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I was really kind of struggling a little bit on like, is this really what I want to do? And, some of the people just weren't the level that I thought it was going to be. So I actually, I got on the phone with a couple of my buddies and I'm like, hey, I'm struggling with this. And they're like, okay, look, we've always said this throughout our entire life. You have money, the job, and the people, right? And out of that triangle, you have to have at least two of those. And the third one you can kind of pull along. So they asked me, like, is the money good? I'm like, yeah, the money's great. I love the job. It's just the people aren't what I expected. They're like, well, then you should be able to do it. But the minute you lose that second piece out of that triangle, it gets difficult. So I think having someone to talk you through that understands, and sometimes that's not necessarily a spouse, just want to put that out there. Sometimes it's not actually even someone you've known for a long period of time. It's just someone that can talk to you and help you work through that process and make you see things differently. So my recommendation would be have that sounding board, and don't do anything. Don't make emotional decisions, right? Those are horrible. They typically end in very bad situations.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I really like that three factors thing. That really helps you narrow down whether when we get into our first careers, whether we're gonna stay or not. That really makes it simple. So thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. Jordy's got his hand up, so I want to let him chat here for a minute.
Yeah, thank you. I've been listening in. I love all your guidance and mentorship, Michael. Thank you so much. Great job, Kylie, in emceeing this session. On the three things you just mentioned, that triangle, do you think the person should have a priority? Like, what's the number one of those three that's the most important to me? And that one has to be one of the two, or do you just think it could be any two? I'm just curious what.
Yeah, no, Jordy, I think that's an excellent question. And so I teach at Neely at the School of Business, and I tell my students, when I got out, I'm not going to lie, my number one priority was money.
Yeah.
I'd lived paycheck to paycheck. I had driven, beat up cars, and I wanted the nicest Mercedes I could drive. So my number one piece of that triangle was the money. And I told myself initially I was willing to manage the other two in order to do that. And then as I evolved, I realized, okay, the money's not as important as it used to be. There's more to it, and I think my focus changed a little bit to the job itself.
Yeah.
So I actually took several pay cuts. I gave up a $500,000 salary to move into big country veterans.
Oh my
So
gosh.
again, it wasn't because of the money, and I'm not trying to say that like, oh wow, that you made $500,000. But it became to the point where the money wasn't the motivator anymore. It was like, what am I doing every day? People in gas and oil and energy, they don't want to be mentored, right? They don't care. They just want their paycheck, they want their overtime, and they want to go home.
Yeah.
So I made that decision to focus on the people and the mission, and now money's third. So
Yeah.
my triangle has completely flipped.
Where's Star Wars? Is that one of the slots?
Yeah, so I'm a huge Star Wars geek, and a couple of years ago, I think we all need an outlet, and I bought the Millennium Falcon up there, and
Whoa.
I built that, and I fell in love with it. So I started collecting all the collector's edition Lego Star Wars. My wife actually hates it, but that's my special place when I
Hey,
put Legos
I love
together.
it. I love it. Let's go two more quick questions. I want to be respectful of Michael's time, but Timothy and then Nick, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for coming on. I've got a similar method to your three, but it's your five things and you prioritize it and then you pick your three. So it's do you want to travel for work or not? Yes or no? Like, do you want to love what you do? Do you want to love who you work with? Do you want to work reasonable hours or make lots of money? Everyone wants all five of those, but you're not going to get all five. So prioritize what you need for that position in your life, and then that way you can kind of scope what you're looking to do for, some people need to make a certain amount of money for a while, or some people need to have that purpose. So just wanted to expand on that with something that's very similar, but I thought was helpful and wanted to share that with the group.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really like that, Timothy. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey Michael, thank you so much for coming on today and for everything you've done. and do currently. So that statement you said about like how you were going for money, but then you kind of took a step back, kind of hit hard because I'm trying to get a job too. Like money's a concern, and yeah, would you have changed anything of what you did to start out,
Nick, so
like
that's
money
yeah,
wise?
that's a great question. No, I wouldn't want to change anything that I did. I think I made the decisions at the time based on the information that I had. And like I said, after 27 years of service, a fixed paycheck, and it was like, I want to be the person that doesn't have to worry about donating or going to the movies or, if my wife wants a nice purse, I want to buy her a nice purse. So my motivation was I want to make some money. I want to make money and enjoy life. And I thought that's what defined enjoyment. And I realized that's not actually the case. So I would say whatever your initial plan is, it's going to evolve. It's going to change. As leaders, as military service members, we know that from day one. Everything evolves, and your priorities also will evolve. My number one priority now is being at home. Like as much time as I can spend at home in board shorts and flip flops is my goal in life.
Good to go. Thank you, Michael.
You're
I
welcome.
need that goal. That's a
No,
good one.
that is a great goal. I love that last bit of advice because I feel like a lot of us right now are struggling with finding the thing that we're going to do for the rest of our lives. So I love that when I hear stories that when you were evolved, you didn't start off doing what you're going to do for the rest of your life and you're a way different place now. So I really like when mentors come on and talk about that. So thanks so much for coming today, Michael.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. And please friend me on LinkedIn if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Michael,
absolutely.
thank you,
Have
man.
a
We
wonderful
appreciate
day.
you.